Chapter 1399. I remember the first time I saw him was on the bus. I was on my period and my stomach hurt so much I couldn't stand. He was sitting next to me. He had dyed his hair and was wearing a strange outfit. He was full of hostility, but he still stood up to give me his seat. Qin Mufeng looked at the girl's expression and couldn't help but think of the saying, "Love doesn't know where it starts, but it runs deep." Damn it, was Mo Lingtian blind? After Qin Mufeng and Ning Tianxin finished their conversation, Ningxi dragged Qin Mufeng into the kitchen. "Qin Mufeng, tell me honestly, how is Sister Tianxin?" Qin Mufeng looked helpless. "My lady boss, I've told you many times, okay? Don't worry. Tianxin is the type that looks soft on the outside but tough on the inside. Her calmness isn't suppressed, it's real calmness. She definitely won't fall sick from depression or commit suicide." Ningxi asked, "Are you sure?" Qin Mufeng said, "Trust my professionalism, okay?" Ningxi didn't really believe him. Qin Mufeng glanced at the girl in the courtyard. The girl's figure was extremely thin and slender. Her face was pale and frail, but there was no trace of sorrow between her brows. Instead, she was calm and collected, and the glimmer in her eyes seemed to be able to warm the years. Ningxi waved her hand in front of Qin Mufeng's eyes. "What are you looking at?" Qin Mufeng coughed lightly and looked away. "Based on my past experience, I thought there would be a big problem with her mental state. However, after these few days of interaction, she really surprised me. Anyway, Tianxin is really fine. This time, she put herself in a desperate situation and came back to life." Hearing Qin Mufeng's words, Ningxi relaxed a little. "So I, the psychiatrist, have completed my mission and retired. The treatment is over," Qin Mufeng said. Ningxi was surprised. "Ha, so fast. It's only been a few days." Qin Mufeng said, "Nonsense. If I continue to be her psychologist, how am I going to pick up girls?" Ningxi's eyes widened. "What did you say?" "Cough, cough, cough. I didn't say anything." Qin Mufeng quickly corrected himself. Ningxi narrowed her eyes and stared at him. "You said it. You said to pick up girls." Qin Mufeng broke out in cold sweat from the glare. He had no choice but to surrender. All right. That. Tianxin, she's exactly the type I like. I want to chase her." In his line of work, he was not allowed to have a relationship with patients that was beyond the relationship between doctor and patient. "Fuck, you're a beast. I've just experienced such a huge blow." Ningxi's face was instantly filled with killing intent. Qin Mufeng hurriedly waved his hand and explained, "Please, it's precisely because of this that I urgently need another relationship to get rid of the pain of the previous one." Ningxi stared at him warily. "Sister Tianxin's condition, you don't mind?" Qin Mufeng said matter-of-factly, "What's there to care about? It's not her fault that she loves the wrong person. As for the problem of children, it doesn't matter if I have children or not. I have a total of 7 brothers and sisters, and I don't need to carry on the family line. My parents are both abroad, and they are quite open-minded, so I don't really care about these things." Ningxi frowned. "Are you serious?" Qin Mufeng let out a long sigh. "Big brother, Tianxin is your cousin. How would I dare to say that I'm not serious? If I'm just playing around, I'm not afraid that you'll break my third leg." Ningxi harumphed. "It's good that you know. Cough, but don't tell her that I like Tianxin, it'll scare her. And although her current mental state is still considered stable, there are serious repercussions." Chapter 1400. What side effects? Ningxi asked anxiously. "It's hard to accept someone again. Didn't you notice that she doesn't care if she can have another child? She's prepared to spend the rest of her life alone. If she finds out about my feelings, I won't stand a chance," Qin Mufeng analyzed. "Actually, I'm worried about that too." Ningxi sighed. "You don't have to worry now. If it was someone else, they wouldn't stand a chance, but I'm a professional," Qin Mufeng said confidently. Ningxi raised her eyebrows and looked at him. "Qin Mufeng, I suddenly realized that your major in psychology is quite useful when it comes to picking up girls." "Of course. Let me tell you, there's no girl I can't get unless I don't want to." Ningxi's face turned serious. "Damn, how many girls have you slept with?" "Cough, cough, I'm just saying." Till now, Tianxin is the only girl who can make my heart palpitate, okay. Seeing Ningxi staring at him as if looking at a big bad wolf, Qin Mufeng broke into a sweat. Don't be so nervous. I didn't say that I would kidnap your cousin immediately. I just have a good impression of her. Even if we can't be lovers in the end, we can still be friends. I won't force her. Hearing Qin Mufeng's words, Ningxi relaxed a little. They had only known each other for 3 days. She wouldn't believe him if he said he couldn't get her. At this moment, a black car was parked not far away from the courtyard of the Peach Blossom Cove. A man was leaning against the car door. He was still wearing the pajamas he rushed to the hospital that day. His beard was unshaven, and he had a cigarette in his mouth. He stared at the courtyard in the distance without blinking. The phone on the driver's seat kept flashing. Mo Lingtian glanced at the name on the screen, and finally picked up the phone. Hello. Lingtian, what happened? Why didn't you pick up the phone? A girl's worried voice came from the phone. Nothing. What's the matter? I'm sorry, Lingtian. I was too harsh that night. It's okay. Lingtian, your voice doesn't sound right. Are you sick? No. Are you still upset because of that woman? Actually, that kind of person is just doing it for money. If they refuse to compromise, it's because they want more. Mo Lingtian absent-mindedly listened to Guan Ziyao's words on the other end of the phone. Halfway through, he seemed to have seen something and hurriedly hung up the phone. Then, he nervously stared in the direction of the courtyard. Under the doorlight, a familiar figure walked out of the house and walked closer and closer in his direction. Mo Lingtian quickly snuffed out the cigarette in his hand, and then moved sideways to hide under the shadow of a tree. The thin and slender figure walked to a trash can 7 or 8 steps away from him, and threw a black garbage bag into it. Under the dim light of the night, one could vaguely see that the girl's thin body had become even thinner. Her face was pale and weak, as if a gust of wind could blow her away. Sister Tianxin, why did you come out? Leave the trash to me. Ningxi chased after her and carefully supported Ning Tianxin. I'm not that weak. It's just a few steps. Ning Tianxin sounded a bit helpless. That won't do. Annie said you have to rest for a few days. After the girl went into the house, Mo Lingtian slowly walked out from the shadow of the tree after a long time. He had been quietly watching nearby for 3 days and 3 nights. Finally, he saw her. But when he really saw her, his first reaction was to hide. Ningxi was right. So what if he saw her? He knew he was too ashamed to see her, but he couldn't control himself. These days, no matter where he stayed, he was full of anxiety. He was exhausted but couldn't sleep for even a minute. He only felt better when he was closer to her. Chapter 1401. In the 9-Cloud Film Studio. In a sea of green bamboos, 2 figures, one in green and the other in red, were fighting fiercely. They cooperated well with each other, and their moves were as smooth as flowing water, dazzling the onlookers. But if you looked closely, you would see that the girl's expression was a bit erratic. A few minutes later, Cut, Ningxi, you did well just now, but you can do better. Let's take a break for 10 minutes and try again later. Guo Qixing said. Okay. Ningxi nodded, wiped her sweat, and returned to the rest area. Jiang Mai threw the prop sword to his assistant, sat down on the bench next to Ningxi, and glanced at her discontentedly. Ning Xiaoxi, what do you mean? Are you looking down on me or something? Can't you be more careful? You're almost out of the 6th ring road. What on earth are you thinking? Ningxi took the mineral water from Xiaotao, raised her head and took a sip. I wonder if it's too late for me to stop now. Jiang Mai's face darkened. What's wrong with you? Ningxi opened the script, looked at the schedule, and looked at the last scene of the day. Setting: Poison Hall characters. Yun Huang, Yun Sitian. I feel like I'm going to die in this movie. Ningxi sighed. You're going to die in this movie? Jiang Mai was puzzled. Don't talk to me, thank you. I want to be alone. Jiang Mai followed her gaze and looked at the script in her hands. Your last scene today is with the investor who will be a guest star? Speaking of this, Jiang Mai seemed to have thought of something. He stared at her speechlessly and said, I say, this investor. Is he related to you again? Ningxi's face darkened. Young man, didn't I tell you not to talk to me? Jiang Mai, holy shit. Is he related to you? Damn. Jiang Mai was shocked for a long time before he came to his senses. The blue veins on his forehead bulged. Ning Xiaoxi. You're good. That's what you get. Look at you now. I've finally played myself to death. Jiang Mai counted with his fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fuck. A table of mahjong. Another 3 and you'll be able to summon a dragon god. Ning Xi's face darkened and she rested her chin on her hand. Damn it. I didn't want to, okay? Who would have thought that one day, all these people would be gathered together in one show? She would be devastated too, okay? What was even more devastating was, damn, even his wife was going to make a cameo appearance. There were still a lot of scenes later on that were all piled up together. She had always wanted to shoot a particularly thrilling movie. Now it was really fucking thrilling. Jiang Mai stared at her speechlessly. What's going on with this one? Did you dump her again after torturing her? Don't blame me for not reminding you that Cloud Depp's background isn't simple. You're practically courting death. Ning Xi rolled her eyes at him. Do you think I have the guts? His situation is different from yours and Mo Chenxiu's. Hearing this, Jiang Mai's expression suddenly changed. He looked at her meaningfully. His situation is different from ours? So you're sincere about this? Ning Xi scratched her hair impatiently. It's a long story. Anyway, this is the trickiest one. Get ready, everyone. Let's do it again. Hearing Guo Qixing's shout, Jiang Mai had no choice but to put away his doubts. Chapter 1402. After several reshoots, the scene was finally completed smoothly. Ning Xi sat on the chair and began to wait for the last death scene to come. After her scene with Jiang Mai, it was time for Meng Shi and Jiang Mai. Meng Shi was obviously a veteran in fighting scenes. She shot all 3 scenes in one take, which won everyone's applause. Sister Shi is so awesome. She is indeed a capable actress. She did all of them in one take. I heard that Ning Xi was also famous when she shot the world in one take. Maybe she's just bragging? Although her acting skills are not bad, she is obviously not on the same level as Sister Shi, okay? After she was done, Meng Shi's expression was arrogant, and she looked over at Ning Xi with a face full of mockery. Ning Xi was so upset that she was not in the mood to pay attention to Meng Shi. Finally, it was time for the last scene, but a certain big shot had not arrived yet. Guo Qixing looked at the watch on his wrist. Ahem, let's wait a little longer. The rich man was the boss. It was just a little while. Of course, no one had any objection. On the contrary, because they knew that the legendary rich boss Yin was coming to make a guest appearance, everyone was extremely excited. Meng Shi's scene was over, but she had no intention of leaving. She was still sitting there, touching up her makeup and looking at the door from time to time. Ning Xi had already changed into the makeup and costume for this scene. She supported her head with one hand and tapped the armrest of the chair with the other hand. Her eyes were rolling. Well, maybe that guy just mentioned it casually and would not come at all. Annie said that he had been very busy after returning to China and was always elusive. He couldn't have come to do such a boring thing just to mess with her, right? The more Ning Xi thought about it, the more she felt it was possible. Boss Yun, you are finally here. Just as she was thinking about this, she heard Guo Qixing's excited voice. Then she saw the director, producer, and a large group of the main cast and crew all surrounding the door. Looking at that familiar arrogant white hair, Ning Xi was speechless. He actually came. How boring was he? Seeing this guy appear in a place like this made her feel extremely unreal. The man's appearance was extremely handsome. Not only did the shallow scar on his brow not affect his appearance in the slightest, but it also added a dangerous and flirtatious aura to him. That incomparably unique temperament was completely different from those little fresh meats that were copied and pasted from the entertainment circle. It was as if he was a creature that lived in the dark and had accidentally arrived at the clear sky that did not belong to him. Big Brother Yin. Seeing who it was, Meng Shi immediately picked up her skirt and jogged over. Just a second ago, she was a dignified and steady movie queen, but now she was like a little girl. Hearing Meng Shi's intimate way of addressing him, all the actors and crew members on set whispered to each other with shocked expressions. Damn, Meng Shi actually knows President Yin? Meng Shi's background is so deep. It wouldn't be strange for her to know someone like that, right? I've heard that the two families seem to be friends for generations. The female artists who had been eyeing Yunshin just now were suddenly disappointed. It was not easy to get a piece of fat meat, but it had already been targeted by an eagle. Meng Shi wasn't someone to be trifled with. This time, they had no hope at all. Chapter 1403. Meng Shi jogged over to the man, but before she could take more than a few steps, she was firmly separated by two bodyguards dressed in black, their faces filled with murderous intent. Brother Yin. Meng Shi stomped her feet, looking aggrieved. Yun Shun's light gray eyes swept over Meng Shi's face like a gust of wind sweeping through a speck of dust. He then turned to Guo Qixing and asked slowly, "Director Guo, I'm playing the role of the brother?" Guo Qixing was stunned at first, then he looked embarrassed. No, President Yun, your role remains the same. It's still the one you chose before, Yun Huang's father, not the brother." As soon as this conversation came out, the onlookers burst into laughter one after another. It turned out that he didn't even know her. Meng Shi's eyes widened. She didn't expect Yunshin to not give her face in front of everyone. Damn it. He knew who she was, but he still dared to treat her like this. "Can we begin?" "Of course, President Yun, please follow me. The makeup artist and stylist have been arranged." Guo Qixing didn't expect the big boss to be so proactive, so he led the way enthusiastically. The white-haired man followed behind Guo Qixing unhurriedly. When he passed by Ningxi, he glanced at her from the corner of his eye and mouthed, "My good daughter, wait for me." Ningxi was speechless. "Wait my ass, I'm your father." Soon, the man came out in his costume. The moment Yunshin came out in his costume, the entire set was in an uproar. Yunshin's character in the movie also had silver hair. The man was dressed in a black ancient costume with a dragon belt around his waist. His long silver hair and makeup made him look even more flirtatious. His light gray eyes made people's hearts palpitate when they looked at him. Because Yun Sitian cultivated an evil technique, his body wouldn't age. So Yunshin didn't need to deliberately pretend to be old. Ow. Oh my god. Are you sure President Yun is playing the female lead's father? I'm breaking down. I actually fell in love with the female lead's father. He's definitely the most handsome father in history. He stole the male lead's thunder. If I had such a devilish father, I wouldn't need the male lead. Guo Qixing was pleasantly surprised and satisfied as he watched from the side. He was just an investor who had used his connections to get in, but he could become one of the biggest highlights of the show. How could he not be happy? He just didn't know how good his acting was. Well, with Ningxi leading him, there would definitely be no problem. "Ningxi, get ready. We can start now." Guo Qixing was still worried, so he specially told Ningxi to take good care of the newlyweds. Ningxi braced herself and agreed. All departments got ready, and the shooting began. This scene was very simple. The female lead and the male lead were very close recently. When the female lead's father found out, he flew into a rage. 3, 2, 1, start. In the dark hall, a devilishly handsome man lazily reclined on a chair. The armrests on both sides of the chair were carved in the shape of two coiling pythons. The man's slender white fingers casually rested on the pythons' bodies, giving off a strange sense of beauty that was shocking to the eye. After listening to his subordinate's report on his daughter Yun Huang's recent movements, the man should have been furious. However, Yun Shun's expression was calm, as if nothing had happened. Guo Qixing frowned slightly, but he didn't shout cut. Instead, he continued to watch. Just then, footsteps came from outside the hall, and Ningxi, dressed in a blazing red dress, appeared. Chapter 1404. Seeing the person who had arrived, the man narrowed his eyes like a resting beast and spoke lazily. "You're finally willing to come back?" Ningxi lifted her clothes with a swish and half knelt in salute. Then she lowered her head and said respectfully, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Ningxi buried her head. The word father was stuck in her throat. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't say it. Cut. Finally, Guo Qixing saw that something was wrong and called for a cut. "Sorry, I was distracted." Ningxi pinched her eyebrows. It's fine. Let's do it again." Guo Qixing was a little surprised. He didn't expect Ning Shi to take the first NG. Did Ning Shi do it on purpose to ease the pressure on this important minor character? In the hall, the white-haired man's eyes fell on the girl hiding in the corner, who was taking deep breaths to calm herself down. His eyes flashed with a smile. Soon the filming began again. Yun Sitian, finally willing to come back? This time, Ning Shi walked over with her head down and kneeled in salute. She didn't even look at the bastard in the hall in case she couldn't call him out. This trick worked. Ning Shi buried her head and was about to speak when the man suddenly interrupted her. Raise your head and look at your father. Ning Shi, fuck. This guy actually changed his lines. However, Guo Qixing didn't call for a cut, so she continued. After all, TV dramas weren't as strict as movies, so it was normal to make slight changes during the performance. Ning Shi was forced to raise her head and look at the face that she wanted to rush up and kill her father. She was once again stuck. Puffed. Meng Shi suddenly sneered. Director Guo, is this what you call a professional, dedicated actor? A potential actor who won't let me down even if he's acting with me? She's an A-lister after all. All she did was change her lines a little, but she doesn't even have the ability to improvise. How can someone like this be considered an actor in Director Guo's eyes? Guo Qixing looked embarrassed. He was also dumbfounded. This had never happened in the last scene. What was wrong with Ning Shi? It was just a simple one-word line, but she actually took 2 NGs in a row. This was too strange. The other staff members around them were also whispering to each other. Sure enough, idols can't be compared to actual people. Aren't all vases that rely on their looks to climb to the top like this? What's so strange about it? It was okay in the movie, but I didn't expect it to be so bad in real life. Did he eat a lot of NGs in private? Not far away, Jiang Mai was no less surprised than Guo Qixing. The only person he knew who could affect Ning Shi to this extent was Lu Tingxiao. The last time Ning Shi took an NG was when they were kissing in the world. Because Lu Tingxiao was there, she took several shots. How could Ning Shi's ex-boyfriend have such a great influence on her? At the same time, Mo Chenxiu, who had been secretly observing, was confused again. Judging from Ning Shi's strange behavior, this newly appeared Cloud Depths seemed to be quite suspicious. Damn it, who was this woman's boyfriend? It was so confusing. President Yin, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Ning Shi must be too excited to see you. Guo Qixing hurried over to apologize to Cloud Depths. However, the man not only didn't show any anger, but also looked good-tempered and in a good mood. He looked at Ning Shi with a smile and said, "It doesn't matter. Director Guo, take a break for 10 minutes. I'll practice with Xiaoxi in private, and let her practice a few more times." Chapter 1405. When Ning Shi heard this, she was so angry that she almost vomited blood. And that guy actually came looking for her with the script in a serious manner. Ning Shi lowered her voice, and her eyes were full of murderous intent. "Yun, what do you want?" The man looked at her with his chin in his hand. "Where's my biscuit?" Ning Shi glared at him. "What do I have to do to make you leave the crew?" Hearing this, the man revealed a thoughtful expression, while Ning Shi nervously waited for his reply. The man pondered for a long time, and then finally said, "Well, I like to eat sweeter things. Add more sugar." Ning Shi used all her rationality to restrain the urge to grab his collar and choke him to death. "I'll add arsenic to it." Looking at Yun Shun and Ning Shi not far away, Meng Shi suddenly realized something. This bitch, she's not pretending to being to get close to Brother Yun, is she? The assistant leaned in and echoed, "I think so, but she doesn't need to pretend to be good at acting. What has she been shooting these days? She can't even compare to Sister Shi's little finger. I really don't know why all the directors who have worked with her are full of praise for her. There's probably something fishy going on. I think even Mr. Yun seems to have been seduced by that woman." Hearing this, Meng Shi couldn't stand it anymore. She strode toward the two of them. In the end, just like before she could get close, she was separated by 2 cold-faced bodyguards. "How dare you? Do you know who I am?" Meng Shi glared at the two of them. The 2 bodyguards were like emotionless humanoid weapons. They didn't react at all and continued to block Meng Shi's way. "Good. Very good. A trace of ruthlessness appeared on Meng Xi's face. She turned around and strode away. 10 minutes later, the shooting continued. This time, Ningxi even used the psychological hypnosis that Dr. Smith had taught her to continue her performance. It was just a short scene, but it was more tiring than an intense martial arts scene. However, this tragedy was just the beginning. Soon, her sweetheart would also join the crew. Ningxi was about to drag her battered body home like a dead dog when her phone rang. The caller ID showed that it was Zhuang Rongguang. He was the one who had insisted on saving his number last time. Seeing Zhuang Rongguang's call, Ningxi was a little surprised. It seemed that she didn't expect that he would call her. Hello. Hey Sister Shi. Are you done yet? Come and play. Zhuang Rongguang's excited voice came through the phone. What are you playing? Of course it's shooting. Same old place, come quickly. Have a match with me. I've been awesome recently. I feel like I'm about to surpass you, ha ha. The excited and enthusiastic voice of the young man on the other end of the phone slightly infected Ningxi's sad mood. Thinking that she was really in a bad state after being tortured during this period of time, it was good to relax, so she agreed. Young man, since you want to be abused, then I will satisfy you. Just wait. We'll be there soon. Meanwhile, at the Platinum Gold Palace, in the study of Lu Jingli's villa, Lu Jingli was dizzily analyzing all kinds of information from 5 years ago, investigating all the suspects that night. Chapter 1406. That night, Ningxi went to Su Yan's private room 713, but then there seemed to be an accident. She entered another private room, and the person she met was not the 2 male servants Ningxiulua had arranged, but a beast who was even worse than the 2 male servants. If it was a male servant, in their line of work, they would never make a woman pregnant. However, the man not only did not take any protection, but also ran away after eating. There was no trace of him. Later, he finally found out that Ningxi really entered private room 718, which was directly opposite 713 that night. Qinyuan was a membership system, and all private rooms had to be booked in advance, and there was a detailed reservation record. Therefore, as long as he found out who booked the 718 private room that night, he could basically find out the murderer. However, how could it be so easy? Sure enough, after the investigation, he found that the reservation record of this private room that night 5 years ago had been erased, and he could not find any clues. In the next few days, Lu Jingli began to work hard to find out who had booked this private room that night. As a result, he spent several days and nights investigating, and even found a computer expert to try to restore the erased record, but he found nothing. Seeing that a week had passed, Lu Jingli had no choice but to report the progress of the investigation to Lu Tingxiao with 2 big panda eyes. Lu Jingli did not even change his clothes. He directly wore pajamas and slippers that he had not changed for several days, and ran next door to find his brother with the documents in his arms. Brother, I'm so sorry. I promised to help you find that beast within 7 days. But that guy is so cunning. He didn't leave any clues. No wonder Cece couldn't find him after 5 years of investigation. I think that guy's modus operandi is definitely not a temporary evil intention, but a habitual offender. A lecher. Lu Jingli held a large pile of documents and complained with tears in his eyes. The handsome face that he was most proud of was now as haggard as a poor scholar who had been squeezed dry by a female ghost. It could be seen that in order to investigate this matter in the past few days, he had really suffered a lot. Lu Tingxiao was slightly surprised to see Lu Jingli's anxious look. Investigating information was Lu Jingli's forte, not to mention that Lu Tingxiao had given him the greatest convenience. Under such circumstances, even after 7 days, he still couldn't find out who the man was? Progress. Lu Tingxiao said coldly in front of a desk that was glowing with a cold luster. Lu Jingli quickly placed a pile of documents in front of Lu Tingxiao. I've locked onto the target, but I can't find out who he is. Qin Garden has the latest defense system imported from China. Even a top-notch hacker would not be able to erase all traces of himself without leaving a trace. Lu Tingxiao's eyes quickly scanned a date on the computer screen, as well as a room number. The moment he saw the date and room number, Lu Tingxiao's icy face which had always been as cold as a mountain, instantly changed. Lu Jingli was so emotional that he did not notice it for a moment, and continued to talk. Now I can be sure that the private room that little Cece entered that night was room 718. This room 718 is definitely the beast we are looking for, but I don't know who booked room 718. Brother, did you hear what I said? Chapter 1407. Lu Tingxiao raised his eyebrows slightly. His gaze, which was originally on the laptop, fell on Lu Jingli's face. The look in his eyes was extremely strange. Lu Jingli's heart skipped a beat when he saw that look. Brother. What's wrong? Lu Tingxiao's fingertips gently tapped on the date and the room number on the paper. Then his low and hoarse voice rang out in the cold study. It's me. Lu Jingli scratched his head. What? Who are you? Lu Tingxiao's thin lips parted slightly as he slowly recited a string of dates and room numbers. The person who booked this room that night was me. As soon as his voice fell, Lu Jingli was completely stunned, as if he did not understand what Lu Tingxiao was saying. After a long time he recovered and asked, Brother, what did you say? This room, you booked it? I also personally deleted the records that night, Lu Tingxiao continued. There was dead silence in the study. After a moment of sluggishness, Lu Jingli scrambled to Lu Tingxiao's desk and picked up the page of investigation information. He looked at the date and the room number again, especially the date. Then his eyes widened. In the end, his expression was as if he had been struck by lightning. Fuck. He seemed to remember. Isn't this the day I drugged you 5 years ago? What the hell? Was he out of his mind? He did not remember at all. However, he really could not be blamed. It was so many years ago, and he had been wholeheartedly investigating Xiao Cici's case. How could he have thought of this? Before this, he had been paying attention to the room number, and did not care about the date at all. As for the room, 5 years ago, Qin Garden was a place they frequented. Every time they came, they did not have a fixed room, so he had no impression of the room number at all. It was not until the moment he heard his brother's words that he woke up from a dream. No wonder he could not find anything. His brother had personally erased the traces. How could he find anything? No one could find anything. Lu Jingli read the information over and over again. He looked like he was about to go crazy. 5 years ago, you and little Cici were at the same time, in the same clubhouse. This is a goddamn coincidence, he said. You and little Cici were at the same time, in the same clubhouse. Brother, did you remember wrongly? Lu Tingxiao's cold gaze swept over him. Do you think I'll remember wrongly? Lu Jingli was frightened by that cold gaze, and immediately shook his head like a rattledrum. No, absolutely not. Lu Jingli clutched his head, on the verge of breaking down. What the hell is going on? I'm going crazy. How could little Cici enter the box that you're in? That beast. At the mention of the word beast, Lu Jingli suddenly stopped talking. No. I must have made a mistake somewhere. Oh my God. Who could tell him that he was dreaming? All of this was simply too frightening. However, the scariest part was yet to come. Lu Tingxiao turned to another page and said in an extremely depressed tone. The date of Ningxi's premature birth in the car accident was August 18th? Lu Jingli nodded repeatedly, not understanding why he suddenly cared about this. Yes, this is absolutely certain. Lu Tingxiao pinched between his eyebrows, and his expression was like a Category 12 storm on the sea. When did Xiaobao arrive at the Lu family? Chapter 1408. The moment he heard this question, Lu Jingli's face completely cracked, and he seemed to be in a daze. After a long time, he reflexively answered as if he had lost his soul. August 18th. August 18th. After receiving so much information all at once, Lu Jingli almost fainted from the shock. Oh my God! 5 years ago, the place where he had drugged his brother, and the place where Ningxi had been framed by Ning Shui, were so coincidentally on the same day and in the same place. What was even more frightening was that the day Ningxi gave birth to the dead baby in the car accident was also the same day that Xiaobao was sent to the Lu family. What did this mean? He had been cursing the beast for so many days. Could it be? Could it be? Lu Jingli simply did not dare to continue thinking about it. Continue to investigate. At this moment, Lu Tingxiao's face was also extremely ugly. It was so horrifying that Lu Jingli did not even have the courage to look at him. Yes. I will check again right away. I think I must have made a mistake. Little Cici definitely did not enter your private room that night. Lu Jingli's face was extremely bitter. Before he left, Lu Jingli somehow mustered up the courage to turn around and say with trembling legs, "Bro, no matter how much I check, there might be some deviations. Even though you booked that private room, there might be other people who went in. Actually, there's another way that's definitely not wrong. That's the only way to figure everything out," Lu Tingxiao said. "Shut up." Ouch. Lu Jingli was so frightened that he wailed and ran away. He had never seen Lu Tingxiao in such a terrifying manner. If he could think of a way, how could his brother not think of it? The best way to take drastic measures was to do a DNA test on Ningxi and Xiaobao, so that everything could be figured out. However, how could he dare to say it? He was almost scared to death, okay? That night, he had personally drugged Lu Tingxiao, and was afraid that it would not be enough, so he had given him more than 3 times the amount. Lu Tingxiao's private room happened to be opposite room 713, and the number of private rooms 718 and 713 looked so similar. What if little Cici walked into the wrong room? What if she met his brother, who had been drugged by him and had completely lost his sanity, and was only left with his instincts? Also, if everything was as he had speculated just now, then the child that little Cici was carrying was almost certainly her brother's. However, the child that little Cici gave birth to was clearly a stillborn baby. How could it be sent to the Lu family without little Cici knowing it herself? Lu Jingli felt that his brain was about to crash due to the high-speed operation. From Lu Tingxiao's words, he could tell how much Ningxi hated the man back then, and how much that man had hurt little Cici. If the man who raped little Cici was really his brother, then the consequences. Oh my God. He was dead for sure. No. But you can't think of it that way. If little Cici was little Bao's biological mother, then little Bao would be so happy. Does this count as his merits offsetting his demerits? In the study, Lu Jingli should be thankful that he ran quickly because almost as soon as he left, the atmosphere in the study suddenly dropped to 0. In front of the desk, the gloomy atmosphere around the man was terrifying to the extreme. No matter how Lu Tingxiao thought about it, he would never have imagined that the person he was investigating who had humiliated Ningxi back then would end up being himself. The person that he wanted to grind to ashes could actually be himself. All of this was simply like an incomparably absurd dream. Chapter 1409. Lu Tingxiao didn't know how long he stayed in the study. Suddenly he stood up, put on his coat, took the car keys and walked out the door. "Young master, are you going out?" "Prepare the car to pick up Xiaobao." "Okay." At the school gate. It was school time, and the gate was unusually lively. Lively and cute children came out one after another to leave with their parents. Lu Tingxiao's usually meticulous collar was slightly messed up. At this moment, he was quietly leaning against the car door, lighting a cigarette in his hand. Deep in the depths of his eyes, there was a huge and dangerous whirlpool churning fiercely. Finally, a familiar little figure appeared at the school gate. Xiaobao was carrying a small school bag, and had a serious expression on his face. As usual, he waited for the butler to pick him up. However, when he looked up, he saw a familiar car and a familiar tall figure in front of it. The little fellow's eyes immediately lit up, and he quickly ran not far away. "Mommy!" Lu Tingxiao snuffed out the cigarette in his hand. "Your mommy didn't come." Xiaobao's face was instantly filled with disappointment, and he went from a hot bun to a cold bun in almost a second. The black car drove slowly on the road, and the scenery outside the car window flashed past quickly behind it. Inside the car, one big and one small, neither said a word. Xiaobao sat expressionlessly in the passenger seat, while Lu Tingxiao's slender fingers rested on the steering wheel. He was driving, and his deep eyes were sizing up the little fellow in the passenger seat through the rearview mirror. Xiao Bao's cold and expressionless little face looked very much like him, and his facial features were also a complete copy of him. No one would doubt that this little fellow was Lu Tingxiao's child. Even after so many years, there were always people in the family who questioned Xiao Bao's identity, but as long as they saw Xiao Bao once, all doubts would be dispelled. "Will Mommy come over tonight?" Xiao Bao asked. "I'll give her a call." Lu Tingxiao stared at the two words "my love" in his phone's contact list for a long time, and finally dialed the number. "Hello, sweetheart," a girl's clear and melodious voice came from the other end of the phone. It was like warm flowing water, instantly soothing his anxious heart that was almost unable to bear it. "Where are you?" "I just finished work. Zhuang Rongguang called me and asked me to go to the shooting range. I'm going to play a few rounds to relax. Can I bring Xiaobao to see you? Xiaobao misses you." "Of course, bring my good son here," Ningxi immediately said happily. Hearing Ningxi say "my son," Lu Tingxiao's mind was filled with a myriad of thoughts. "Okay, I'll be there in a moment." "Are we going to Mommy's place?" Xiao Bao's little face immediately lit up. "Yeah." Lu Tingxiao nodded. Hearing this, the little fellow immediately pursed her lips and revealed a shallow and happy smile. Out of the corner of his eye, Lu Tingxiao inadvertently saw that the moment little Bao smiled, the expression between his brows was extremely similar to Ningxi's. Lu Tingxiao's expression froze for a moment. Ever since Ningxi had appeared and Lil Treasure began to smile more, he had discovered that when Lil Treasure smiled, his eyes and brows were completely different from his own. More than once, some people even said that Xiaobao and Ningxi had been together for a long time, and even their appearances were somewhat similar, especially when they smiled. In the past, when he heard these words, he only felt that it was fate and never thought much about it. Now that he thought about it, from how Xiaobao and Ningxi felt like old friends at first sight, from how Ningxi liked Xiaobao to how much Xiaobao liked her, everything was simply shocking. Chapter 14:10. At the shooting range. In just a few months, Ningxi almost couldn't recognize Zhuang Rongguang when she saw him again. Not only did the young man's appearance and hairstyle change, but his entire spirit and appearance had also changed. At this moment, the young man was chatting with a few friends. Apart from the youthful vigor that was unique to a young man, there was also a hint of sharpness and determination. From the looks of it, he had really changed this time, and wasn't like before, where he had been slacking off for 3 days and drying the net for 2 days. At the moment, Ningxi was wearing her own brand's red one-piece, tailor-made dress and silver diamond-studded high heels. She took off the sunglasses on her face, revealing an extremely beautiful and unrestrained face. Today was not a holiday. Usually, there were not many people at the shooting range at this time. Besides, even if she was a star, it was no big deal for her to come to the shooting range to play. There was no need to deliberately cover up, so Ningxi didn't bother to disguise herself. Even so, Ningxi's appearance still attracted the attention of the people along the way. But it was purely because of her beauty and aura, not because of her status as a star. Nowadays, Ningxi was more famous for men's clothes than women's clothes. She was more famous among the girls than the guys. Most of the people at the shooting range were men. So when Ningxi wore women's clothes, not everyone recognized her. Only a few fans recognized her. Wow. There's a beauty, a super beauty. No. Where's the beauty? Isn't that the superstar Ningxi? Which Ningxi? She's the female lead who plays the Dream Seeker. She looks like this in women's clothes. Hey, why is the superstar here? I didn't expect such a beauty to like shooting. Zhuang Rongguang, who had been waiting for a long time, heard the discussion behind him, and subconsciously looked in the direction of the door. The young man was stunned for a moment before he recognized the superstar beauty in front of him. He immediately waved excitedly and shouted, "Sister Shi here. Come here." Zhuang Rongguang had made a lot of new friends recently. Seeing this scene, they all came up to tease him. Fuck. Photon. When did you get to know such a beautiful woman? And she's a superstar. Hurry up and introduce her to us. Don't tell me she's your new girl. Hearing the last sentence, Zhuang Rongguang's face turned red. He angrily elbowed the young man who spoke. What nonsense are you talking about? Didn't you hear me call her sister? She's my sister's best friend. His shooting skills were first-rate. She's the sharpshooter I told you about. Pfft, Zhuang, are you fucking kidding me? The godly sharpshooter you were bragging about was her? Are you kidding me? How is that possible? She's so pretty that she can shoot. I also thought that she was a tough woman. Ningxi heard the lively discussion of the group of people from afar, and couldn't help but feel a little amused. Sister Shi, you finally came. Let these ignorant people have a good look. Zhuang Rongguang excitedly went forward. Ningxi picked up a gun, and casually fired a few shots. It was enough for those teenagers' eyes to light up, and they all called her sister, like Zhuang Rongguang. Looking at their dumbfounded expressions, Zhuang Rongguang felt even more pleased than if he had been praised. As more and more people came to watch, Zhuang Rongguang took Ningxi to another quiet shooting range to continue. Chapter 14:11. Zhuang Liaoyuan was fishing with old Master Zhuang nearby. When he heard that Rongguang called Ningxi over to compete with him, both of them went over with interest. When they arrived, Zhuang Rongguang was happily bragging to Ningxi, Sister Shi, I finally learned your blindfolded shooting skill. Then he took out a piece of black cloth to cover his eyes, raised the gun, and aimed at the target opposite him. Bang! 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 After 3 shots, the score quickly appeared on the scoreboard. 10 points, 10 points, 10 points. Ningxi raised her eyebrows. Not bad. Yes, yes. Hearing Ningxi praise him, Zhuang Rongguang was so proud that his tail almost flew up to the sky. I told you I'm talented. I just didn't want to learn before. When I get serious, even I am afraid of myself. Brat, don't be complacent just because you have some achievements. Zhuang Liaoyuan said with a straight face. However, although he said it in a reprimanding tone, his eyes were full of pride and gratification. At the same time, he looked at Ningxi with gratitude. Their brat could achieve what he had today all because of this girl. Seeing Zhuang Zongren and Zhuang Liaoyuan, Ningxi hurriedly greeted them and then smiled. Rongguang is really good to be able to achieve this in such a short time. Hearing this, Zhuang Rongguang became even more proud. See, even my sister Shi said so. Sister Shi, don't bother with them. Come on, let's continue. The two of them competed for a while. Suddenly there was a baby calling from behind. Mommy! Hearing her baby's voice, Ningxi immediately put down the gun in her hand, turned around happily, and then hugged the little guy who was running towards her. Good boy, the little guy's body was fragrant and soft, and Ningxi didn't want to let go of him. Old Master Zhuang heard the mommy, and looked at the little guy who was running towards Ningxi. He suddenly showed a surprised expression and looked at Zhuang Liaoyuan suspiciously. This child is... While talking, steady footsteps came from behind, and then a man in a suit and leather shoes, who looked very similar to the little bun in Ningxi's arms, walked over. After seeing Lu Tingxiao and hearing Zhuang Liaoyuan's reply, Zhuang Zongren immediately reacted. This is the grandson of the Lu family? Yes. When Zhuang Liaoyuan saw Lu Tingxiao, his expression immediately turned serious. They were just boyfriend and girlfriend. Ningxi hadn't even married yet. How could her son call her mother? Old Master Zhuang, Chief Zhuang. Lu Tingxiao greeted them. Then he called Xiaobao over. Call someone over. Xiaobao looked at Zhuang Liaoyuan, then at Zhuang Zongren, and obediently said, Hello, Uncle Zhuang. Hello, Grandpa Zhuang. The little fellow was as cute as a white dough ball. Zhuang Liaoyuan's expression softened a lot as he nodded his head. Why did he feel that this little guy was different from the last time he saw him at Elder Lu's banquet? He seemed to be livelier. Zhuang Zongren, on the other hand, had a loving expression on his face. He stretched out his rough palm and rubbed the little fellow's head. Good boy. Maybe it was because he was old that he especially liked children. He liked this child very much at first sight. Chapter 14:12. Not far away, Zhuang Rongguang looked at Lu Tingxiao and Lu Tingxiao's little replica, and curled his lips unhappily. Sister Shi, what kind of taste do you have? There are so many men out there. Why do you have a crush on Lu Tingxiao? Ningxi raised her eyebrows. Because he's handsome. Zhuang Rongguang choked. Looking at Lu Tingxiao's flawless face, he couldn't refute her, so he said, "Why are you so shallow? His baby is already so big, okay?" Ningxi. "Sorry, I like his baby the most." Zhuang Rongguang. "What's there to like about a soft little bun without any manliness?" Sister Shi, I think you're more suitable to be with our mighty and domineering soldier. When I join the army, I'll help you find someone 100 times more handsome than Lu Tingxiao, and give birth to a baby with great genes. When he grows up, he'll be as domineering as you. Ningxi's cool and domineering image couldn't be erased from Zhuang Rongguang's mind. She was as brave, intelligent, persevering, upright, and powerful as the god of eagles Haidongqing. How could his goddess be tied to an old rich family like Canary? It was heartbreaking. Ningxi's eyes were full of her baby son. She had no time to care about Zhuang Rongguang, who kept nagging. She walked straight to Little Bun with a gentle look on her face. Seeing Little Bun staring at the gun in Zhuang Rongguang's hand with sparkling eyes, she bent down and asked with a smile, "Baby, do you want to play?" Little Baozi's eyes instantly widened. "Mommy, can I?" Ningxi immediately smiled. Of course. Hearing that Ningxi agreed to let Little Bun play with a gun, Lu Tingxiao, Zhuang Liaoyuan, and Zhuang Zongren didn't think there was any problem, especially Zhuang Liaoyuan and Zhuang Zongren. The Zhuang family was a military and political family. Zhuang Zongren's generation grew up in the flames of war. When Zhuang Rongguang could walk, Zhuang Liaoyuan began to give him a gun as a toy. When Zhuang Rongguang was 3 to 5 years old, Zhuang Liaoyuan often took him to places like shooting ranges and training grounds. Zhuang Rongguang had inherited the talents of the Zhuang family. He was gifted since he was young, and he loved firearms. Unfortunately, during that period of time, the political situation was chaotic, and the Zhuang family was in the eye of the storm. They were busy with all kinds of battles and neglected to discipline Zhuang Rongguang, causing him to miss the most important period of his growth. When they wanted to turn things around, they impatiently taught him too much, almost ruining a good seedling. Zhuang Rongguang looked at Ningxi's gentle and doting expression and curled his lips in disdain. Sister Shi, be careful not to injure his little arm. Not everyone can touch a gun at the age of 3 and hit 10 rings at the age of 5 like me, okay? What if I can get 10 points? At this moment, a childish yet inexplicably cold voice sounded from the side. Zhuang Rongguang immediately turned to look at Tiny Tot, who was speaking with a funny expression on his face. "Ha! Little brat, you're so arrogant. Have you touched a gun before?" "Little Bun, no." Zhuang Rongguang immediately said. "How dare you talk nonsense if you haven't? If you can hit 10 rings, I'll call you daddy." As soon as he said that, Zhuang Liaoyuan immediately glared at him. Zhuang Rongguang touched his nose. "Cough, cough, cough. Anyway, that's what I mean. If you can hit 10 rings, I'll do anything for you." Little Bun looked at him coldly and said expressionlessly, "If I can hit 10 rings, you're not allowed to sow discord in front of my mother." Chapter 14-13. Fuck, why is this little guy's ears so good? He heard me even though I spoke so softly. Zhuang Rongguang's face turned hot. He straightened his neck and said, "When did I sow discord? I'm telling the truth, okay? Also, is she your mother? Why are you calling her that?" "She's my mother." Hearing this, Little Bun clenched his fist. His face was cold like never before. It was obvious that he was really angry. Then, he said word by word to the youth in front of him. "If I get 10 points, you have to say she's my mother 100 times. Zhuang Rongguang glanced at him indifferently. "I'll say it. I'm not afraid of you." Zhuang Liaoyuan looked at his son, who was already 18 years old, acting so childish and arguing with a 5-year-old child. He immediately said with a dark face, "Rongguang, don't mess around." Zhuang Zongren's old face was also a little embarrassed. "Brat, how old are you? You're still bullying a child. Don't you know shame?" "It's fine." Lu Tingxiao looked at the scene in front of him and didn't care. "What did I do? You guys clearly saw that he provoked me." Zhuang Rongguang mumbled unhappily. "I provoked you. If I can't do it, I'll apologize and call you brother 100 times. Come, I'll wait for you to call me brother 100 times. Ningxi knew that Little Bun wasn't the kind of willful child who would mess around. He was serious and really angry. Baby, do you really want to bet? Little Bun looked at Ningxi as if he was looking at the most important treasure in the world. Mother, you're my mother. Ningxi saw that Little Bun was determined, so she chose a gun for him in the end. Seeing that the two children were just throwing a little tantrum, Lu Tingxiao didn't mind. Zhuang Liaoyuan and Zhuang Zongren didn't interfere either. Ningxi chose a light pistol for Little Bun. The recoil wasn't big, but it was enough for a 5-year-old child. It was even a problem for him to hold the gun steadily. It was also because the adults present were all professionals that they dared to let Little Bun play like this. Baby, let's play happily. Mother is your mother. You don't have to prove it to anyone, okay? Ningxi comforted. Little Bun nodded obediently, but the light in his eyes was unusually bright. Come, mommy will teach you how to hold a gun. Ningxi patiently taught Little Bun how to hold a gun and how to aim. Zhuang Rongguang, who was at the side, interrupted. Hey, how could you put your finger there? How could you do something so simple? I'm only 3 years old. Ningxi glared at him. Do you want me to spar with you for real? Zhuang Rongguang swallowed a mouthful of saliva and shook his head furiously. At the same time, he felt a little sour in his heart. The heck? Why is she acting like an old hen protecting her chick? Just what's so good about little Soft Bun? She was just a little cuter, a little fairer, and a little cuter. Lu Tingxiao looked at Ningxi, who was teaching Xiaobao patiently, and his son, who was studying hard, and an imperceptible glimmer flashed across his eyes. 5 years old, 10 rings. If Ningxi and Zhuang Rongguang didn't have super talents inherited from their families, it would be impossible for them to do it. The Lu family had been in business for generations, and their descendants had all received an ancient aristocratic education. It was obvious that they did not have much talent in these aspects. Chapter 14:14. Ningxi patiently taught Little Bun. The mother and son were happy and the atmosphere was warm. Zhuang Rongguang jumped up and down and made trouble from time to time. Baby, can you remember? Mom, I can. Little Bao nodded obediently. Okay, let's try. Control your breathing, 3 points and 1 line. Ningxi instructed. Little Bao held the gun in his hand and lifted it up. Because he was short, he aimed at the target not far away. Zhuang Liaoyuan, Zhuang Zongren, and Lu Tingxiao, who were talking, also looked at the little boy. Seeing Little Bao's posture and strength, Zhuang Liaoyuan and Zhuang Zongren's eyes lit up. Zhuang Zongren was surprised. This little guy. I didn't know he had good wrist strength. Zhuang Liaoyuan nodded. His feet are steady too. Then he looked at Lu Tingxiao. It seemed that this child had undergone systematic training. Fortunately, he didn't become a bookworm because of the Lu family. Little Bao's physical fitness had improved so fast that he was miles ahead of his peers, so it wasn't difficult for him to hold the gun and shoot. Zhuang Rongguang was a little surprised to see the little boy holding the gun and aiming at the target, but he still snorted. What's the use of just showing off? As soon as he said that, there was a bang. Little Bao fired the first shot. Everyone subconsciously looked in the direction of the target. A moment later, the score popped up. 0 points. There was an eerie silence. Then Zhuang Rongguang held his stomach and burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. 0 points. He missed the target. He couldn't have missed the target even with his eyes closed. Ha 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 ha. He actually bragged to me that he could hit 10 points. Oh, I'm dying of laughter. Ningxi glared at Zhuang Rongguang. It's Little Bao's first time holding a gun. How can he hit 10 points? It's already amazing that he can shoot. Actually, Ningxi was right. This was a real gun. Most children wouldn't dare to touch it. Even if they dared, they wouldn't be able to control it. How could they just pick it up and shoot? At such a young age, it is indeed very good. Zhuang Liaoyuan and Zhuang Zongren also said. Who asked him to be so arrogant just now? Zhuang Rongguang snorted. His first shot missed, and he was ridiculed by Zhuang Rongguang, but Xiaobao's expression didn't change in the slightest. Instead, the light in his eyes shone even brighter and more dazzling. Ningxi had never seen the little guy so excited, and her mood was also affected. She squatted down and said gently, Baby, is it fun? Little Bun's eyes lit up and she nodded vigorously. Then let's continue playing. Ignore this childish guy. Ningxi glared at Zhuang. Thus Little Bun raised his gun again. Pung. 3 rings. Not bad, not bad. He hit the target. Continue. Ningxi encouraged him. Bang. 4th ring. My baby is so powerful. I've improved again. Ningxi's face was full of joy. The corners of Zhuang Rongguang's mouth twitched. Do you have to be so dramatic? He was beaten so badly, yet he praised him so much. If this young master was beaten like this, my father would have whipped me to death, okay? Ningxi ignored him and continued to play with Little Bun. Little Bun was also completely immersed in the joy of shooting. Bang, 5th ring. Bang, 6th ring. Bang, 7th ring. Chapter 14-15. When 92 points appeared on the scoreboard, Zhuang Liaoyuan and Zhuang Zongren's eyes changed slightly, but Zhuang Rongguang was still disdainful. You're lucky, little boy. You actually got 92 points. But you can't get 10 points just by luck. As soon as he finished speaking with a bang, he got 10 points. Bang, another 10 points. After 2 consecutive 10 points, Zhuang Rongguang almost bit his tongue and stammered, Little boy, you're really lucky. Just as he finished speaking, Xiaobao hit the 3rd 10 points with a bang. Zhuang Rongguang. 3 10 points? Isn't this luck too good? Bang. Another 10 points, the 4th 10 points. Then accompanied by the bang, 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 bang. Each shot by Xiaobao was a 10-point, not even a 9-point. Not only was Zhuang Rongguang dumbfounded, but Zhuang Liaoyuan and Zhuang Zongren were also stunned. Even Ningxi was frightened by Xiaobao. Just now, she was full of praise, but now she was shocked and didn't know what to say. Not only did Xiaobao get 10 points, but after a short period of familiarity, he hit the bullseye like a sharpshooter. After a long time, Ningxi said in a daze, What the hell? Lu Tingxiao, your son is amazing. His genes are too fucking awesome. Lu Tingxiao. Honey, it doesn't seem to come from my genes at this moment. Looking at his son who was getting more and more addicted to shooting, Lu Tingxiao's heart was extremely complicated. He was sure that no one in the Lu family, including himself, was good at shooting, and it was indeed Xiaobao's first time touching a gun. Zhuang Rongguang's talent came from his biological parents, and Ningxi seemed to come from the Zhuang family's blood. Then what about Xiaobao? Where did he come from? The idea that arose from Lu Jingli's investigation gradually germinated from a seed, until it grew into a towering tree. After all, he was still young and his wrist strength couldn't support him for too long. Ningxi was afraid that the little guy would hurt his hand, so she stopped him after a while. Little Bun touched the gun reluctantly, looking as if he hadn't had enough. Xiaobao was not interested in anything. Ningxi was quite happy to see him like this. At the same time, she felt a sense of closeness in her heart. Because Xiaobao was Lu Tingxiao's son, Zhuang Liaoyuan was a little prejudiced against him. But now he didn't have any prejudice at all. He looked at the little guy with sparkling eyes, even more exaggerated than when he saw Ningxi. This kid is too talented. He's even more talented than Glory. He might even surpass Ningxi. Tears streamed down Zhuang Rongguang's cheeks. Dad, I've already lost enough face. Don't say any more, okay? I'm going to call him Daddy. Only then did Little Bun remember the most important thing. She turned towards Zhuang Rongguang with a cold expression. Don't forget your promise. Zhuang Rongguang couldn't possibly go back on his words after making a bet with a little brat. He could only bitterly say, I promise I won't sow discord in the future. Also, Ningxi is your mother, your mother, your mother. Little Baozi's extremely serious and taut little face finally relaxed, revealing an extremely cute and satisfied smile. Zhuang Rongguang looked at the cute little Bun's smiling face, and couldn't help but be stunned. Damn. Just now, why did he feel that this annoying little guy was quite cute? Chapter 14-16. Today, Ningxi had discovered that Little Bun was so talented in shooting. While she was pleasantly surprised, she couldn't help feeling a little jealous. Little Baozi's genes were so good that they were practically heaven-defying. His biological mother must also be an especially outstanding and powerful person. Zhuang Liaoyuan and Zhuang Zhongren had fallen in love with Little Bun after just a short meeting. For Little Bun's sake, they warmly invited the father and son to have dinner at their house. They were exceptionally warm to Little Bun, and the old master even wanted Little Bun to stay for a few days. Naturally, Lu Tingxiao declined. He left with his wife and child as soon as they finished their meal. It was not enough for the Zhuang family to snatch his wife away. Now they even had their eyes on his son. Late at night, Platinum Palace. Ningxi left after coaxing Little Bun to sleep. She was going back to the villa, and was about to say goodbye to Lu Tingxiao. However, she couldn't find him. Finally, she saw him under the shadowy rose vines in the small garden behind. The man was dressed in cotton and linen casual attire, sitting on a rattan chair under the flower rack. One arm was across the back of the chair, and the other hand was holding a lit cigarette. The red glow of the cigarette but flickered in the night. Ningxi frowned and walked over the soft grass. "Why are you here alone?" Hearing the girl's voice, the icicle around the man, which seemed to separate him from the rest of the world, shattered. He pinched the cigarette in his hand and looked up at the girl. "Come here." Ningxi walked over. As soon as she reached him, the man took her hand and led her to sit on his lap. The man's embrace was warm, with a faint smell of tobacco, as well as a trace of aura that made Ningxi slightly uneasy. "What's wrong? Is there something on your mind?" Ningxi looked up and asked. "Do you like Little Bun?" Lu Tingxiao asked in the tranquil night. "Of course I do." Ningxi answered in confusion. She didn't understand why Lu Tingxiao would suddenly ask this. Was there a need to ask this question? To prove herself, Ningxi continued. "Actually, I didn't like kids before I met Little Bun." "Well, it's not that I didn't like kids. I just didn't want to get close to kids until I met Little Bun." Lu Tingxiao's heart sank when he heard Ningxi's words. That day in the wheat field of Spring Breeze Town, every word of Ningxi seemed to be ringing in his ears. The child died as soon as it was born. This is probably the only mercy the heavens have shown me. Otherwise, I really don't know how to face and treat this child. Lu Tingxiao subconsciously hugged the girl in his arms tightly. He leaned forward slightly as if he was about to kiss her, but just as he was about to get close, he retreated. The girl's words appeared in his mind again. "That strange man was very scary. I am in pain, very much in pain. The pain of feeling like he was going to die. I had a high fever for a week and had to lie in bed for more than a month before I recovered. When I went to see the doctor, I still couldn't forget that shameful feeling. Later on, my fear of men followed me like a shadow. I hated and rejected contact with men. That one time 5 years ago was the only time I experienced it." Every single word was still ringing in his ears, burning his heart like a raging inferno. Half of it was heaven, and the other half was hell. Until now, he finally knew what it felt like for Ningxi to carry an unspeakable secret alone. Chapter 14-17. After an unknown period of time, Lu Tingxiao's pitch-black eyes surged with undercurrents and finally became deathly still. In the next second, the man's slender fingers covered the girl's fair and slender neck. A slightly cold kiss, with a heart full of strong emotions, landed on the corner of the girl's lips. Ningxi didn't know where Lu Tingxiao's uneasiness came from, so she could only respond to the man's kiss to make him feel at ease. "Ah!" Suddenly, Ningxi held her neck and screamed in pain. "What's wrong?" Lu Tingxiao asked nervously. "Ugh. I think something pricked me." Ningxi held her shoulder. Lu Tingxiao raised his hand and glanced at his cuff. "Sorry, there's a hole in the button on my shirt." Then he took out a handkerchief to cover Ningxi's bleeding wound, and helped her stand up. "I'll take you upstairs to treat it." As Lu Tingxiao spoke, his face darkened and his expression became extremely ugly. Ningxi looked at his exaggerated expression as if she had lost a vat of blood. She smiled helplessly. "It's just a small injury. It's not a big deal." Lu Tingxiao's heart ached when he saw that the girl didn't seem to feel anything and didn't seem to be wary of him at all. In the bedroom upstairs, Lu Tingxiao carefully treated the girl's wound. If one looked closely, they would find that the wound was close to her shoulder, which could be covered by her collar, so it wouldn't affect her daily life and filming. "Lu Tingxiao, what's wrong with you today? You're absent-minded." Ningxi asked worriedly. Lu Tingxiao put away the medical kit and glanced at her. I'm afraid that you'll dislike me for having a burden. Hearing this, Ningxi finally came to a realization. She put her arms around the man's neck and kissed his serious face. Rongguang, you really care about what a kid says. I told you that I like Xiaobao the most. How could I dislike you because of this? Xiaobao is your cheat, your godly assistant, okay? The man kissed her forehead, as if comforted by her words. From the beginning to the end, Ningxi didn't suspect anything strange about Lu Tingxiao at all. Because Ning Tianqin and Annie were still at Peach Blossom Cove, Ningxi was worried, so she rushed back at night. After the girl left, Lu Tingxiao stared at the bloody handkerchief for a long time without looking away. Suddenly his phone rang. It was Lu Jingli's call. Brother, are you asleep? Come here. Oh, I'll be right there. Within a few minutes, Lu Jingli had already rushed over from next door. Seeing how cold his brother was, Lu Jingli did not dare to get too close. He weakly reported from a distance, Brother. I checked again. Little Cece really went into your private room that night. But when did she go in? Did she go in after you left? Did anyone else go in after you left? I'm really not sure. Before Lu Jingli could finish, Lu Tingxiao suddenly released his palm and handed him something. Puzzled, Lu Jingli walked forward and subconsciously took the handkerchief from his brother. Ahem. What's this? Are you here to wipe my sweat? Lu Jingli was puzzled. He looked at the handkerchief and realized that there was blood on it. His eyes widened and he stammered. This blood is, could it be Lu Tingxiao, Xiaoxi's? Chapter 14:18. Sure enough. His brother had finally decided to do a DNA test. He should have done it a long time ago. He almost vomited blood because of the test. Sob, sob, sob. Brother, how did you get the blood? Will it arouse Cece's suspicion? The situation is so complicated. What if? Lu Tingxiao interrupted Lu Jingli's nagging. Honey trap. Well, since he had used this trick, there was no way she would suspect anything. What about Xiaobao's blood sample? Lu Jingli asked again. Tomorrow, Xiaobao's school will arrange a group physical examination. Lu Tingxiao said. Oh, that's all right. Lu Jingli nodded and carefully held the bloody handkerchief with trembling hands. It was not convenient to collect other samples. Hair could also be used, but it had to have hair follicles. The hair follicles of children who were too young were not fully developed, so there would be some deviation during the test. The most accurate sample was still blood. If blood was used for the test, it would definitely be foolproof. Oh, damn it. He was so nervous. His heart was about to jump out of his chest. The worst thing was that he had to keep such a big secret to himself. He didn't know if he would suffocate to death. It turned out that knowing too much about gossip was also a kind of sadness. Soon after, the day that Ningxi was most worried about finally came. Her sweetheart had joined the crew. Moreover, today's scenes were quite exciting. There were scenes for the male lead, the second male lead, the female lead's father and the female lead's hidden guard. Jiang Mai, Emo Chenxiu, and Yinshen were likely to meet her sweetheart. What did this mean? It meant that a table of mahjong was ready. However, when she got out of the car and saw the devil who had disguised himself as Ku Mingyu, she was quite happy and temporarily put all her worries behind her. There was no one around in the parking lot, so Ningxi happily jumped to the man. Kiki. The man's face was unrecognizable and expressionless, but the moment he saw the girl, his eyes were so gentle that they seemed to be able to melt people. He opened his arms slightly and hugged the girl who threw herself at him. Have you had breakfast? Yes, I have. Are you busy? Can you come to the crew? In fact, Ningxi really wanted to tell him to stop acting if he was too busy. However, she was reluctant to give up this rare opportunity to interact with the Demon King. If it weren't for those mahjong partners, she and the Demon King could have a private date in Rio with this movie. It's okay. It's been arranged. Lu Tingxiao gently stroked the girl's hair. All right, let's go to the set. I don't want to. I want to hug you some more. Ningxi refused to let go. It was really too annoying. She needed to hug his sweetheart for a while to recharge her batteries. The man curled his lips, and there was a hint of helplessness and indulgence between his brows. Be careful not to be photographed. I've already looked around. There's no one here. Ningxi still didn't let go. Yes, Ningxi was right. There was no one around, but Shi Xiao had come with her today. At this moment, he was standing not far behind her. He was so shocked that he had turned into a rock. Fuck. What the hell did he see? The lady boss. The lady boss was hugging a male actor and wouldn't let go. Now he was also a loyal fan of the lady boss. If he was not mistaken, that man was the second male lead, Ko Mingyu, who had worked with the lady boss in the last movie. Chapter 1419. How could the lady boss get together with that mediocre-looking, and even more mediocre, unknown artist? And in such a delicate way? Wasn't the boss's wife obsessed with good looks? Even if she was looking for a gigolo, she shouldn't look like this. Baba, no. That was not the point. The point was that the boss's wife had cheated on him. What kind of shocking secret did he know? Shi Xiao was about to go crazy. However, there was something even crazier. How could Lu Tingxiao stand the girl's coquettish behavior? He immediately bent down and kissed the girl's lips. Good girl, I'll accompany you tonight. Seeing that the wild man kissed the boss's wife, Shi Xiao, who had turned into a stone, was instantly crushed into powder. Perhaps because he was too shocked, he actually forgot to chase after them. Instead, he just watched as the two of them left. Damn it, what should he do now? Tell the boss. How could he survive if he knew that the boss had been cuckolded? Beat the gigolo away? What if he ran away and another one came? Ningxi's mind was full of the mahjong table at this moment. How could she notice Shi Xiao, who was almost tangled up like a fried dough twist? In addition, Ko Mingyu was the devil in her heart, so she subconsciously didn't mean to avoid Shi Xiao, so she didn't think of this at all. As for Lu Tingxiao, he only had his wife in his eyes. On the way to the set, Ningxi thought for a while and decided to tell Lu Tingxiao in advance. Sweetheart, our crew may be a bit complicated. In fact, Jiang Mai didn't need to worry about them. Su Yan didn't come here often. She was sure that she could handle Mo Chinxiu. Any one of them could handle it alone, but it would be difficult to handle them all together, not to mention that there was also that troublemaker. She was afraid that he would make trouble. The only good thing was that they didn't know that Ko Mingyu was Lu Tingxiao. Well, the boss of Elon Ventures is the biggest investor of this show, and he played my father. Ningxi bit the bullet and said to Lu Tingxiao. As for who the boss of Elon Ventures was, Lu Tingxiao must know. A dark gleam flashed across Lu Tingxiao's eyes. Yes, I know. Oh, didn't you say that there was some conflict between the two of you? But he doesn't know that you're Lu Tingxiao. There shouldn't be any trouble. Don't worry, just focus on acting. Yes. After informing Lu Tingxiao, Ningxi looked at his reassuring side profile and felt a lot more at ease. They were walking in the direction of the crew when they unexpectedly bumped into a person. Ningxi was so scared that she almost had a heart attack. As always, the man stared at the arrogant white hair, followed by two cold-faced bodyguards in black. Seeing Ningxi, the man lazily took off the sunglasses on his face and curled up the corner of his lips. His gaze seemed to be able to pierce through the soul, sweeping over Ningxi and Ko Mingyu beside her. On the other hand, Lu Tingxiao's expression didn't change in the slightest. Seeing that the guy kept looking at Lu Tingxiao, Ningxi's heart almost jumped out of her throat. She hurriedly interrupted this strange atmosphere. President Yun, isn't your scene in the afternoon? Why are you here so early? The man withdrew his gaze from Ko Mingyu, smiled and looked at Ningxi. Honey, because I miss you. Ningxi, Yunshin, damn you. Chapter 1420. By the way. The man leaned closer. Darling, don't forget your promise to me. I want it tonight. Ningxi. Fuck. He had only promised to make some biscuits. Did he have to be so flirtatious? The fire in Ningxi's eyes burned fiercely. She really wanted to burn this bastard in front of her to death. The culprit turned around and left just like that. Before he left, he glanced at Ko Mingyu from the corner of his eyes. After Yunshin left, Ningxi turned around and explained to the devil behind her, Sweetheart, don't listen to his nonsense. I asked Annie for help last time, and was forced to agree to one of his conditions. This pervert wanted to make things difficult for me and asked me to make 9,999 handmade biscuits for him. I was in a hurry to get Annie to treat Sister Tianxin, so I agreed. She was most worried about this guy, but she hadn't expected disaster to come so quickly. She had only been a little girl, and she had almost been tricked by this guy. Ningxi felt a headache coming on. This lunatic loves to play tricks on people. Don't believe a single word he says. You can only trust me, okay? Ningxi couldn't help but mutter to herself. Was that guy just teasing her, or had he seen through Kamingyu's real identity and said that in front of him on purpose? It couldn't be. Back then, even she hadn't recognized Lu Tingxiao immediately. She must be overthinking. Lu Tingxiao's eyes dimmed as he watched the girl explain to him nervously and make tough demands. Of course I believe you. He wouldn't be provoked by the other party's childish tricks, but he couldn't help but be concerned that that man was appearing more and more frequently around Ningxi. From giving her the crown at the charity banquet to helping her out at the cocktail party. And now he was following her to the set. Yet this girl in front of him was so innocent that she didn't realize it at all. She didn't know that the man was actually wooing her. Thinking of this, Lu Tingxiao's brows were immediately covered in a layer of haze. If that man really came for her and did everything he could to win her back, would Ningxi reconcile with him? Sweetheart, what are you thinking about? Seeing Lu Tingxiao in a daze, Ningxi waved her hand in front of his eyes. Lu Tingxiao snapped back to reality. Nothing. What about your biscuits? Do you need help? Seeing that Lu Tingxiao didn't seem to care, Ningxi finally breathed a sigh of relief and said confidently, No, it's easy. I can handle it myself. After Ningxi and Lu Tingxiao left, a man slowly walked out from behind the pillar behind them. Meng Shi stood there, her face filled with anger and surprise. She was angry that Yunshin had indeed been seduced by Ningxi, the vixen, and said such intimate and ambiguous words to her. She was surprised that she didn't expect that Ningxi would sleep with a third-rate male actor, and even seemed to be very nervous and infatuated with this male actor. She tried to cut off her relationship with Yunshin. It seemed that she loved him very much and didn't pretend to love him. Meng Shi's eyes showed a trace of confusion. Was this Ningxi stupid? Why would a man like Yunshin fall in love with a male artist who has nothing? Of course, none of this was important. What was important was that Yunshin really liked that vixen. Chapter 14:21. The dressing room and resting area of the leading and supporting actors were not the same. Ningxi and Lu Tingxiao went to the dressing room separately after arriving at the set. As soon as they entered the dressing room, they didn't see the makeup artist or the assistant. Instead, they saw Jiang Mai sitting in front of the dressing table with his legs crossed and humming a song. As soon as he saw Ningxi, he immediately took off his headphones and flew over. Ningxi, how is it going? Is my uncle here today? Jiang Mai said as he looked outside, as if he wanted to see the world in chaos. Ah, this is a fucking scuffle. Will there be a fight later? Ningxi sat down on the chair and pinched her eyebrows. I don't want to see my ex-boyfriend now, not even a hair of his. If you continue to wander in front of me. If I do something to you later. Before Ningxi finished her words with a whoosh, Jiang Mai immediately disappeared without a trace. It could be said that he was very tactful. He had seen Ningxi's violence many times when she was in a bad mood. After a while, the makeup artist and Xiao Tao came back with clothes and wigs. Ningxi cheered up and began to change clothes and put on makeup. After putting on makeup, Ningxi went out and looked for her sweetheart as soon as possible, as well as to observe the enemy. She saw that Lu Tingxiao had changed into a black suit from head to toe, and was sitting in an inconspicuous corner, holding a script in his hand. If she didn't deliberately look for him, the man's existence was almost zero, and he wouldn't attract anyone's attention. As for the other guy, sitting on a spacious and luxurious leather recliner with a huge parasol over his head, Yunshin was surrounded by many stars and almost everyone was talking to him. After being warned by her, Jiang Mai was obediently sitting in his resting seat, pretending to read the script. Mo Chinxio's scenes today were later, and he hadn't arrived yet. Ningxi also tried to reduce her existence, trying to get through today safely, but it was obviously impossible. Just as she was about to walk towards her chair, She heard someone calling out to her lazily. Huang. Ningxi wanted to pretend not to hear it, but the annoying guy called her again. Huang. Come here. Unfortunately, Yunshin was the biggest investor of their drama. The director had already told them to take it easy and go along with it. On the surface, she had to endure it. Ningxi had to bite the bullet and walk over. President Yun, what can I do for you? The man tilted his head and looked at the girl's bitter expression with a smile that was not a smile. He gestured with his eyes to sit next to her and said unhurriedly, Little Huang, let's act together in case you injure again later. Father will feel sorry for you. Ningxi. Are you addicted to acting? However, at this moment, the man had changed into a costume and put on makeup. He looked exactly like Yun Sitian in the play. When he said those words in such an image, the female artists and staff next to him exclaimed with excitement. Oh wow, I'm so jealous. I also wish I had a father like President Yun. If I had such a handsome father, I wouldn't marry. President Yun is simply the father of the nation. Ningxi was speechless. What the hell did he mean by national daddy? Chapter 1422. During the whole day's shooting, Ningxi had to watch out for this and that. She was so exhausted that she made frequent mistakes during the shooting process. She even accidentally hit Jiang Mai's hand during the fight scene. Jiang Mai covered his hand and carefully rubbed it against her hand, looking aggrieved. I'm so obedient. Why did you hit me? What did I do to you? Ningxi looked at him speechlessly. His hand seemed to be about to break. What are you howling for? It's just a mistake. Why are you howling like this? Are you a man? I'll pull it back for you, okay? Then she stretched out her hand. As a result, you set me up. You want to set me up again. My uncle is here. I'm courting death if I dare to hit you. Jiang Mai looked as if he had seen through her trick and hid away angrily. Ningxi helplessly held her forehead. It was getting more and more chaotic. Not far away, Mingxi had been stopped by Yunshin's 2 bodyguards for the umpteenth time. No matter how hard or soft she tried, it didn't work at all. Although Yunshin kept calling Ningxi Huang, and Little Huang, and often asked her to act with him, the rest of the crew, including the director, didn't dare to get too close to him. Because as long as they were within 3 steps of him, the 2 bodyguards would stare at them as if they were going to kill them. The strange thing was, for some reason, it seemed that Ningxi was the only exception. Guo Qixing deliberately observed them several times and found that the 2 bodyguards were extremely guarded against everyone, but when Ningxi approached them, they were obviously very relaxed. What's wrong, Little Huang? Are you in a bad mood? Yunshin leisurely walked to Ningxi, holding a delicate and beautiful box of ice cream in his slender white hand. I heard that sweets can make people feel better. Ningxi rubbed the goosebumps on her body, looked at him strangely, and lowered her voice. What the hell is wrong with you? This guy had been very strange all day. He was so gentle that she was horrified. The man chuckled as if he didn't hear her words. His tone became more gentle. Do you want me to feed you? Ningxi subconsciously glanced at Lu Tingxiao, gritted her teeth, and put on an impeccable smile. Thank you, President Yunshin, but I'm really sorry. I'm on a diet. Isn't it better to be a little fatter? The man looked at her with a smile in his eyes. If you're a little fatter, I'll like you more. Ningxi. Holy shit. Such intelligent flirting words actually came out of this guy's mouth? What on earth had provoked this guy? Although the surrounding people were far away and didn't know the content of their conversation, they all looked envious when they saw Yunshin's special care and intimacy towards Ningxi. Even though the 2 of them had the most scenes in the movie and were playing father and daughter, President Yun's attitude towards Ningxi was still a little too good. These past few days, Mingxi had racked her brains to get closer to him, but to no avail. It seemed like the rumors of the boss being Ningxi's fan were true. His luck was too good. With such an amazing fan, it was no wonder that someone like President Yun would take the time to play a small role, spending 300 million to buy a walk-on. Chapter 1423. Sister Shi. Are you okay? Mengxi's little assistant asked timidly. because Meng Shi's expression was too scary. That damned bitch. How dare she steal my man? Does she really think I won't touch her just because she has Lu Group behind her? Meng Shi's face was filled with terrifying anger. The little assistant echoed. Yes, yes, yes. There's no one in the entertainment industry that you need to give face to, Sister Shi. This woman doesn't take face when you give her face. She should be taught a lesson. If President Meng finds out, she'll be in trouble. Meng Shi snorted coldly. Do I need to rely on my daddy to deal with someone like her? The little assistant agreed without hesitation. Of course not. Sister Shi, you can kill her with your acting skills. Next scene, Ning Shi, get ready. Guo Qixing shouted from the side. Soon the filming began. Two figures, one red and one white, stood facing each other. Two completely different types of great beauties appeared in the scene at the same time. It was undoubtedly a feast for the eyes. Meng Shi looked at Ning Shi opposite her, and a strange light flashed in her eyes. She had been observing her for a few days. Originally, she thought that Ning Shi must have some skill to make Guo Qixing and Xin Mian praise her acting skills so much. She didn't think that she was just SSO. She was just a flower vase that was slightly better. Today, she was going to make a fool of her in front of everyone. With Ning Shi's little skill, it would be easy for her to purposely suppress her acting skills. Meng Shi was full of confidence. In reality, the situation was easier than she thought. She just showed off her acting skills a little, and Ning Shi actually NG'd 3 times in a row. In the end, it took a total of 12 takes to finish the scene. Although Ning Shi's condition wasn't good recently, she had never done more than 5 NGs. This was the first time she had done so many NGs in a row. Meng Shi thought that she suppressed Ning Shi's acting skills, but in reality, Ning Shi was just scared by a certain demon's too strange behavior. In the corner, Lu Tingxiao watched Ning Shi's abnormal performance, which he had never seen before. His deep eyes darkened a few shades. In contrast, a certain instigator sat there in a good mood, admiring Ning Shi's 12 NGs. For the whole day, her gaze had been on that Kumingyu. At this moment, she finally had no time to be distracted. Director Guo, our big sis Shi's time is very precious, and she's always been the female lead. This time, even if you want 2 female leads, you should at least find a decent one. You're dragging down our Shi's standards. Seeing Meng Shi's triumphant return, in order to please Meng Shi, the assistant immediately took the opportunity to criticize Ning Shi. In fact, Guo Qixing also had a headache. These days, not only Ning Shi, but also the others were not in good shape. Although there were no big mistakes in their acting, the quality was really far from what he had expected. Even Ning Shi, who had passed in 1 take, in the last play, was like this, which really made him anxious. Ning Shi is still considered a rookie. Her acting skills aren't too stable, so please forgive her. This time, Guo Qixing didn't dare to praise Ning Shi like that, so he could only try to smooth things over. Meng Shi sneered. Since you know you're a newbie, don't be so arrogant. Who are you bragging to? That's right. Our Shi, Golden Horse, and Golden Horse didn't even say anything. She's just a broken vase, and she's too shameless. Chapter 1424. In reality, Ning Shi had never said how good her acting skills were. Her acting skills were all passed down by word of mouth by the crew members she had worked with. Now that they said it, it seemed like she was bragging all the time, causing the rest of the crew to follow suit and point fingers at Ning Shi. Their words were harsh. I heard my friends praise Ning Shi's acting skills, and I thought she was a capable actress. I didn't expect her to rely on her face to make a living. How disappointing. Actually, Ning Shi's acting skills are pretty good compared to those pretty faces. It's her fault that she met a real capable actress this time. Sure enough, people are made up of comparisons. Compared to Meng Shi, the difference is immediately obvious. Hearing the words around her, Xiao Tao was about to die from anger. What? Her elder brother Shi's acting skills had always been very good. She beat Meng Shi by a few blocks. Ning Shi, the person involved, didn't care at all. Her whole body and mind were on guard against a certain demon's next move. She really didn't have the time to pay attention to Meng Shi. And this time, she really wasn't in a good state, so there was nothing to say. Brother Shi, what's wrong with you recently? Are you feeling unwell? How about I talk to Sister Gigi and help you take a few days off from the crew? Xiaotao looked worried. No need. Ningxi waved her hand weakly. Why would she take a day off? It was just a matter of dying sooner or later. After a short disturbance, the filming finally resumed. Ningxi flipped through the script and perked up a little. Finally, it was her sweetheart scene. Although most of Lu Tingxiao's scenes were with her, today's scene was a little special. It was with Mengxi. Ningxi met Mengxi's gaze out of the corner of her eye. She couldn't help but frown and feel a little uneasy. Why did she feel like there was something wrong with the way Mengxi looked at her just now? Ningxi shook her head, feeling that she was really too paranoid. Ku Mingyu had nothing to do with Mengxi. Mengxi withdrew her gaze and glanced at Ku Mingyu disdainfully. This was the man Ningxi liked? She wanted to see. What was so different about this man? 3, 2, 1. Action. The plot of the scene was that Leng Ao Shui had accidentally suffered a serious injury when he went down the mountain to train, and was coincidentally seen by Yin Huang. Yin Huang's actions were ruthless, rich and inhumane, but the male lead, Ling Xiao, was her only weakness. She knew that Leng Ao Shui was Ling Zhao's sweetheart, whom he loved to death. In the end, she secretly sent her shadow guard, Lu Yan, to rescue him. In the dense forest, Leng Ao Shui's white robe was soaked in blood. His shoulders and abdomen were full of wounds from being attacked by wild beasts. He was lying in a pool of blood, barely breathing. Even when a beauty was on the verge of death, she was still extremely beautiful. The cameraman quickly zoomed in a few shots. At this moment, a masked man in black quietly appeared in front of Leng Ao Shui like a ghost. He checked her injuries and helped her up. Leng Ao Shui looked at the person in front of her in confusion. Who are you? There was nothing wrong with the plot up to this point, but Ningxi's eyes suddenly flashed a glimmer of light. Her gaze was like a sharp knife, shooting straight at Mengxi. At this moment, the clothes of Leng Ao Shui, who was played by Mengxi, were a little messy due to being torn by wild beasts, faintly revealing her beautiful curves and deep cleavage. So pure, yet so tempting. If Ningxi wasn't wrong, when Mengxi was acting with Ku Mingyu, she seemed to be using her chest to rub against Ku Mingyu's arm ambiguously, after a ka-cha sound that sent chills down one's spine. Jiang Mai watched as Ningxi crushed the teacup in her hand. Crushed. Oh, it seemed like someone was going to be unlucky. Chapter 14:25. The moment the teacup was broken, the tea flowed down Ningxi's white fingers. Jiang Mai looked at Ningxi's face, and then at the teacup in her hand. His Adam's apple moved up and down and he swallowed. Oh my god. Ning Xiaoxi was so scary at this moment. What was going on with Mengxi? She was a movie queen. Why did she secretly hook up with Ku Mingyu, an unknown male actor? Mengxi was obviously a veteran, and she was very sensitive to cameras. She deliberately avoided the camera, so no one noticed her little secret movement. But only from where he and Ningxi were sitting could they see it very clearly. Mengxi's slight movement might be unintentional in the eyes of others, but how could it be hidden from Jiang Mai, a veteran in love, and of course from Ningxi? What's going on, Ning Xiaoxi? Hasn't Mengxi been fawning on Yinshen? Why did she suddenly go to provoke Ku Mingyu? Jiang Mai hurriedly looked at Ningxi's hand, and was relieved to see that she was not injured. Speaking of this, Jiang Mai seemed to suddenly think of something. His eyes widened, and he said, "Oh my god, did Mengxi find out that your relationship with Ku Mingyu is unusual? She saw Yunshen's special attitude towards you, so she deliberately hooked up with your man to get back at you?" He really admired Mengxi's courage. Jiang Mai had been analyzing excitedly, while Ningxi dealt with the broken pieces without saying a word. She slowly wiped the tea on her hand with a tissue, and there was no expression on her face. However, in Jiang Mai's eyes, Ningxi was extremely frightening, and his back was full of coldness. "Cut. Very good. That's enough," Guo Qixing shouted. When it was over, Mengxi cast an ambiguous look at Ku Mingyu. Any normal man could understand that it was a hint from a woman to a man. After that, Mengxi finally calmed down a little. She walked to the recliner and sat down refreshingly. Well, with her status in the entertainment circle, she was much higher than Ningxi. A man who relied on women to get to the top naturally knew how to choose. What's the next scene? Mengxi asked casually. The scene with Ningxi, the little assistant said in a gloating tone. Mengxi also smiled. To be able to teach that vixen another lesson, she naturally wouldn't mind. Today she was going to make her cry and leave the set. All right, let's start the next round. Ningxi, get ready. The director's voice rang out. Before they started, Guo Qixing talked to Ningxi for a long time to help her calm down. Ningxi took an apologetic look at Guo Qixing. Director Guo, I'm sorry. Due to some personal reasons, I've caused you trouble these days. Hey, it's okay. It's normal to be in a bad state occasionally. Don't feel pressured because of this. Take it slow, Guo Qixing comforted. Ningxi nodded. Director Guo, don't worry. I will make this film more popular than you can imagine. With that, Ningxi turned around and walked straight to the filming location. Guo Qixing stared blankly at the girl's back as she left, feeling that Ningxi looked different just now. What she said just now was not that our movie would definitely be popular, but that I would definitely make it popular. Ah, this little girl. It was obviously such arrogant words, but Guo Qixing didn't know why. He really believed it. Chapter 1426. Seeing that the next scene was about to begin, Jiang Mai hurriedly made himself a pot of tea, took out a bag of melon seeds, and entered the mode of watching the show. What he loved most was watching Ning Xiaoxi start to slaughter everyone except for him. Hey, do you want some melon seeds? Jiang Mai was in a good mood, so he greeted Emo Qinxiu warmly. Emo Qinxiu looked at Jiang Mai faintly. Because he hadn't made any progress these days, he finally couldn't help but ask. Yuan Tang. Ningxi, are you dating? Cough, cough, cough. Hearing this, Jiang Mai almost choked on his tea. How is that possible? If it's not you, then who is it? Emo Qinxiu looked like his soul had left his body. Emo Qinxiu was the first to be in a bad mood. Jiang Mai crossed his legs and ate some melon seeds. He glanced at Emo Qinxiu and said, Don't think about it. That guy already has a girlfriend, and he's definitely not someone you can beat. You like her? Emo Qinxiu said in a certain tone. Jiang Mai choked again, and his face turned red. He rolled his eyes and said, It's none of your business. Emo Qinxiu couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Who could make Jiang Mai so afraid of Ning, she that he didn't dare to do anything to her? Jiang Mai seemed to know what Emo Qinxiu was thinking. His face darkened, and he curled his lips. How could he not be afraid? That guy's seniority was enough to crush him. Everyone get ready, start, Guo Qixing shouted. Meng Shi's assistant yawned out of boredom. She stood there with her arms crossed, looking at the time on her phone with a face full of impatience. For this film, Sister Shi turned down so many offers from big-name directors. She even turned down Hollywood roles. Who would have thought that she'd be tricked into joining this lousy team? In reality, the TV market was very popular nowadays. No matter how high Meng Shi's movie was, without the support of the masses, it would be very difficult for her to make money. If she wanted to go the high-stakes route, then she wouldn't care about money. But since she rejected so many movies and took on TV shows, it was clear that she still wanted to make money. Nine Firmaments was the most expensive IP fantasy drama in the country. The director, producer, and actors were all top-notch. There were plenty of actors and actresses who wanted to join the cast. Even international actresses were more than enough. Meng Shi had only won 2 domestic trophies. Meng Shi, the female lead, was something that their company had spent quite a bit of effort to get. But now, she was speaking in such a disdainful tone and putting on airs to this extent. No matter how good Guo Qixing's temper was, his expression couldn't help but turn a little ugly. But Guo Qixing couldn't argue with a little assistant, so he suppressed his anger and focused on the direction where Ningxi and Mengxi were shooting. Dusk fell, and the light in the dense forest was somewhat dim. 2 figures, one red and one white, were thrown into the air by the wires. The white figure chased after the red figure in front of him, and the 2 figures moved quickly. Swoosh. The cloud phoenix's skirt fluttered in the air like raging flames. Her arms spread out like an eagle's and the tips of her feet brushed the ground as she abruptly stopped in front of her. Lung Ao Shui, who was in hot pursuit, also landed on the ground. He aimed a silver arrow at the woman in front of him. Demoness. Stop right there. Today, I will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. Meng Shi's eyes were filled with fierce anger, and just the right amount of compassion. Lung Ao Shui, who was cold to the extreme, but also merciful to the extreme, was vividly portrayed. Chapter 1427. The plot of this scene was that Yin Huang's personal shadow guard, Lu Yin, was injured by the righteous sect. Because of this, Yin Huang went on a killing spree, causing the righteous sect to bleed like a river. Lung Ao Shui was enraged and wanted to enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. Throughout this scene, Lung Ao Shui was in the leading position, which was especially suitable to suppress the scene. As long as she used it a little bit, Ningxi would definitely lose even more face. Under Meng Shi's hidden and ambiguous gaze, the woman in red seemed to not notice Lung Ao Shui's monstrous anger and murderous intent. She leisurely stood there, stretched out her voice, and said with a faint smile, "I wonder what path Fairy Ao Shui walks." Lung Ao Shui's beautiful eyes turned frosty, and her gaze became even more fierce. "Which? You still dare to quibble? In one night, you killed all 107 people from the Seven Stars sect. Such a killing spree is hard to absolve your sin. The heavens cannot tolerate it." Hey. Yin Huang lowered her eyes and let out a low laugh from her chest. A moment later, her crow feather-like eyelashes slightly opened, and her gloomy eyes looked at Lung Ao Shui. Her fingers gently brushed the blood on her cheek, and her hair fluttered along with the strong wind. Her whole person was like a ghost. "I've said it before. If anyone dares to touch a single hair on his head, I will take his head. If anyone dares to hurt him, I will slaughter his whole family." Seeing this, Guo Qixing's eyes suddenly lit up, and his heart trembled with excitement. This girl really came back. This part of the performance was simply too amazing. Guo Qixing had completely put the unhappiness in the back of his mind, and excitedly looked at Meng Shi. Which, unexpectedly, at such an exciting moment, Meng Shi actually forgot her lines? Meng Shi tried to open her mouth again, but she was still stuck. She couldn't say a single word of her long and impassioned speech. She had already brewed up her emotions, and this time, she was ready to crush Ningxi. However, unexpectedly, when she looked into Ningxi's eyes, her brain suddenly lost control. The lines that she was about to blurt out were suddenly stuck in her throat, and she could only say one word before she could no longer say it. "Cut, do it again." Guo Qixing sighed with regret. Meng Shi hadn't reacted yet when she heard Guo Qixing's cut sound. Damn it, what's going on? Was she dazed just now? As for this mistake, Meng Shi treated it as a momentary lapse in concentration. Her assistant and the other staff didn't pay much attention to it either. Soon the second shoot began. Meng Shi took a deep breath. This time, she was even fiercer than last time. She rushed towards Ningxi with an overwhelming sense of oppression. "Demoness! How dare you quibble?" If it was a small actor without a solid foundation, he would definitely not perform well under such pressure. He might not even be able to say his lines. However, I've said it before, if anyone dares to touch a single hair on his head, I'll take his head. If anyone dares to hurt him, I'll slaughter his entire family. Facing Meng Shi, who was using nearly all of her acting skills to deliberately pressure her, Ningxi's attitude became even more relaxed. Her demeanor made it seem like the treasonous words she was saying were the way of the heavens. At this moment, the red-robed woman before him was extremely arrogant. Even the heavenly Tao was trampled under her feet. This was a cloud phoenix. Chapter 1428. Guo Qixing didn't think that Ningxi's interpretation of the character would be even better this time. He couldn't contain his excitement. "Which you?" However, Meng Shi miserably failed again. From Ningxi's demeanor to her lines, it was clear that she didn't have any strength, But for some reason in front of her, Meng Shi felt like there was an insurmountable mountain in front of her, making her unable to move. Damn it. What was wrong with her? Why couldn't she say her lines? If the first time was a coincidence, then this time. She felt that things weren't that simple. Meng Shi's face was ashen. She furrowed her brows and looked at Ning Shi. The latter took the water from the assistant and raised it at her from afar, revealing a smile that sent chills down her spine. Sister Shi, what's wrong? Are you too tired? It's all that broken vase's fault. You kept failing. You wasted so much energy. The assistant hurriedly rushed to Meng Shi's side to smooth things over. Hearing the assistant's help, Meng Shi's face finally relaxed a little. Not far away, Jiang Mai crunched his melon seeds like a squirrel. Looking in Meng Shi's direction, a trace of a sneer flashed across his eyes. Heh, you can't take it anymore? This is just the beginning. Soon the third shoot began. Meng Shi looked over the script she had memorized long ago. After confirming that there would be no mistakes this time, she started again. Because she was prepared this time, Meng Shi didn't dare to be careless. For the first time since entering the cast, she brought out her full strength, and was even forced to perform exceptionally. The moment she said the last line, her imposing aura infected the surrounding staff and artists, so much so that they didn't dare to breathe loudly. The cameraman nervously and excitedly gave Meng Shi a close-up shot. The wind grew stronger. Yin Huang was like a phoenix burning in a raging fire. His long and narrow eyes were full of contempt and mockery for those who talked about benevolence, righteousness, and morality. He trampled on all the rules of the world, and looked down on all living things with disdain. His gaze swept over Meng Shi as if he was looking at an ant. Then he continued to recite that treasonous line. This time, Meng Shi stood rooted to the ground in a daze. She couldn't even say the word which. All the onlookers, whether it was the staff or the artists, were captivated by Ning Shi's extremely enchanting look. It was clearly such treasonous words, yet it caused the hearts of everyone to surge, and they were captivated and immersed in the arrogance and impudence of the person before them. After a long time, everyone came back to their senses from the atmosphere created by Ning Shi. When everyone came back to their senses, their first reaction was that this was too unbelievable. Did Ning Shi bring everyone into the play just now? After that, everyone's reaction was Meng Shi NG again. She had just been talking about Ning Shi, but now she had also failed 3 times. In their hearts, Ning Shi was an idol who relied on her looks, so it was normal for her to take an NG. However, when it came to Meng Shi, who had always crushed Ning Shi and had always presented herself as a powerful movie queen, it was a little surprising. This time, Meng Shi's expression was extremely ugly. Big sis Shi, look at how you've been dragged down by that vase. Hurry and get some rest. The little assistant nagged, still blaming Ning Shi. However, after witnessing Ning Shi's acting, everyone clearly couldn't agree with the little assistant's excuse. How was this tired? It was clearly more like she was so shocked by Ning Shi's acting that she forgot to say her lines. Chapter 1429. After a short break, the 4th take began. Without a doubt, there were more NGs. Then the 5th time, the 6th, the 7th, more and more people gathered, and the expressions on their faces became more and more surprised. Until the 12th time. It seemed like Ning Shi had also NG'd 12 times. Just as everyone was thinking this, Meng Shi NG'd again. The 13th time, she actually had more NGs than Ning Shi. After the 13th NG, Meng Shi was already sweating profusely and on the verge of collapsing. She threw away the sword in her hand with a bang and walked to the rest area, then crazily swung all the cups and teapots off the table. Accompanied by a burst of noise and debris on the floor, the little assistant covered her ears, her face pale with fright. Sure. Sister Shi. Scram. Everyone looked at Meng Shi, who seemed to have gone crazy. They looked at each other in dismay. No matter how much they wanted to absolve Meng Shi, she had NG'd 13 times, and that was the most basic of forgetting lines. As a movie queen, how could she justify it? This mistake was too low level. So movie queens are only SO. Someone couldn't help but mutter. At this moment, An excited voice cut in from the crowd. Shouldn't the main point be Ningxi? Ningxi was so cool just now. Yes, 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 she's clearly the villain, but why am I so handsome? I want to marry her. And why do I feel like Yin Huang and Luyan are having an affair? She's so angry for the sake of her beauty. Oh, so Director Guo wasn't exaggerating. Ningxi's acting is really amazing. She probably wasn't in a good state before. On the contrary, Mengxi, this movie queen, whether it's her acting or her character, they're all exaggerated. Listening to the crowd's discussion, Mengxi's face was incomparably gloomy, and she looked in Ningxi's direction with hatred. This damned woman, what did she do to her? Why couldn't she say her lines? Why couldn't she say her lines? Could it be that she was suppressing her scenes? No. That's impossible. How could that vase, who relied on her pretty face, be able to hold the show? It should be known that in the whole entertainment circle, people who could hold the show were rare, and they could only be used on inexperienced newcomers. How could Ningxi hold the show? No matter what, Mengxi refused to believe it. After all, not long ago, she had beaten Ningxi 12 NGs. Tut tut, tut. So cruel. Jiang Mai watched with great interest. Sigh, some people. Aren't they happy to be alive? Why did he have to court death? However, on second thought, Jiang Mai realized that Ningxi had been absent-minded these days. He didn't expect that Ningxi would be so furious just because Mengxi touched her uncle a little bit through his clothes. Thinking of this, Jiang Mai's face darkened, and a trace of bitterness flashed across his eyes. He knew that as soon as his uncle joined the cast he would be stuffed with dog food, but he didn't expect that he would almost vomit on the first day. At the same time, since the beginning of the shooting, Yinshin had not said a word. He just sat quietly in the shade of a cool tree. His enchanting face was hidden in the shadow, and his expression could not be seen clearly. However, the backs of the two bodyguards beside him were extremely stiff, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. They had been with Boss for so many years, so they understood Boss's mood the best. Right now, Boss's mood was very bad. Chapter 1430. Sister Shi, do you want to continue? Why don't I tell the director we can continue tomorrow? Seeing that Meng Shi was bewitched and kept taking NGs, the assistant tried to sound her out. However, not only did this not work, it lit up the fire in Meng Shi's heart even more. What are you talking about? Continue filming. If she were to run away now, wouldn't she become a laughingstock to everyone? Under Meng Shi's insistence, the 14th take began. The staff cheered up and continued. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, looking at Ningxi, Meng Shi couldn't help but feel an unprecedented fear emerge in her heart. This woman was too evil. She was about to say the line that she failed to say 13 times in a row. Meng Shi's sword hand broke out in a cold sweat. Yunhuang. I'll slaughter his entire family. This time, Ningxi's performance still amazed everyone. After repeating it so many times, when everyone's senses were almost numb, she could still get them into character, and every time she performed, her emotions were incomparably full. This kind of skill, as long as one knew a little, would be incomparably amazed. The only difference was that Meng Shi was surprised to find that the power that seemed to be strangling her and controlling her brain had suddenly disappeared. She hurriedly seized the opportunity and finally said the last part of the righteous line. Cut. Pass. Very good. Guo Qixing excitedly shouted cut. Even though it took 14 takes, it was definitely worth it. The two main actors used all their strength to shoot, and it was simply brilliant. I just said that everyone has times when they're not in a good state. It's just a few NGs, don't worry about it. Look, it's pretty good this time. Guo Qixing took the opportunity to smooth things over. However, Meng Shi's expression didn't look much better. It was just that she was so exhausted that she didn't even have the strength to speak. Damn it. I actually underestimated that bitch. There were a few more scenes, and most of them were Ningxi's. One of them was a fight scene between Ningxi and the second male lead, Mo Chinxiu, while the other was a love scene between Ningxi and the male lead, Jiang Mai. Just now, after Meng Shi's 14 NGs, Ningxi didn't look tired at all. Instead, she was in top form. She led Mo Chinxiu and Jiang Mai into the scene. Both scenes were done with great efficiency in one take, and the effects were especially good. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they had the quality of a movie. Guo Qixing watched the wonderful fight between Ningxi and Mo Chenxiu in the video. It was as if Ningxi had really killed their father. He also saw Jiang Mai's superb performance after Ningxi brought him into the scene, which almost made the audience cry. He was so happy that he couldn't stop smiling. The day's shooting was finally over. Finally, Ningxi had the chance to meet her sweetheart. As soon as they arrived at a deserted area, Ningxi immediately pushed Lu Tingxiao against the wall behind him and bit the man's lips. The man groaned as he was bitten, but his large palm held the girl's waist so that she could attack him more easily. Which hand did she touch you with? This one. Or this one? The fire in the girl's eyes reached the heavens. Looking at the little girl's jealous expression, as well as the scene of her flying into a rage on set, the man's eyes were filled with tears. He lowered his eyes and gently kissed the girl's dark red lips. Then he let out a low laugh from his chest. You're still laughing? Ningxi glared at him. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.